Let's be honest, prediction videos are everywhere at the end of the year. Most of them are just recycled buzzwords. In this one, I want to do something different. By the end of this video, you will have a clear picture of which threats are actually shifting in 2026 and 3 concrete moves you can make as an MSP to be ahead of that curve. Not based on gut feeling, but on what IBM, Verizon, ENISA, Microsoft and others are already seeing in the data. So let's set the stage. In 2025, IBM's Cost of a Data Breach report showed something surprising. For the first time in years, the average global cost of a breach actually dipped slightly, down to around $4.44 million after hitting about $4.88 million the year before. At first, that sounds like good news. But if you read deeper, the story is more complicated. Costs in the US actually hit another record. And one theme shows up again and again. AI is now involved on both sides. Organizations that deployed security AI and automation reduced detection and containment time and saved money. At the same time, IBM notes that a growing share of breaches involved attackers using AI or exploiting poorly governed AI applications. And that shadow AI and missing governance are already driving breach costs up. Verizon's 2025 Data Breach Investigations report tells a similar story from a different angle. One of the most important findings is that exploitations of vulnerabilities as an initial access vector grew by about 34% and now accounts for roughly 1/5 of all breaches, while credentials and identity abuse sit in a similar range. And there's another big shift. Third-party involvement in breaches has doubled to around 30%. In other words, supply chains and partner risk is no longer an edge case. It's right in the middle of the picture. ENISA's threat landscape work, which looks at thousands of incidents across Europe, highlights the same triad. Ransomware and extortion staying strong, more AI being used in phishing and disinformation, and a sharp rise in supply chain, MSP and zero-day exploitations. And then you have Microsoft 2024 Digital Defense Report. Microsoft talks about a 2.75 times increase in human-operated ransomware encounters in their telemetry, a big jump in phishing volume, and they are very direct about one thing. Identity has become the main security boundary in cloud and SaaS environments. If you put all that together, a pattern emerges. 2026 is not the year everything changes. It's the year where a few trends that have been building quietly in the background became impossible to ignore, especially if you're an MSP. So in this episode, I want to walk you through 5 predictions for 2026 that actually matter for MSPs and then turn them into 3 concrete moves you can make in your business. The first prediction is simple. AI will show up in more breach reports and in more SOC architectures at the same time. On the attacker side, surveys and threat reports are already warning that AI-driven deepfake and social engineering attacks have moved from cool demo to everyday reality. Gartner recently reported that around 62% of organizations experienced at least one deepfake-style incident in the last 12 months. And roughly a third said that they had been seen attacks targeting their AI applications themselves through prompt manipulation, model abuse, or related infrastructure. Other research focused on small and mid-sized businesses found something even more worrying. Roughly 6 in the 10 SMBs reported some form of AI-powered attack in 2025. From deepfake CEO voice calls to AI-written phishing campaigns. At the same time, IBM's data shows the security teams using AI and automation in detection and response notice and contain breaches faster and pay less for them overall. So we're heading into 2026 with AI on both offense and defense. For MSPs, that changes the question. It's no longer, should I be doing anything with AI? Because by now, attackers absolutely are. The real question is, where specifically do I let AI help us defend, and where do we draw hard lines? Choosing not to engage with AI doesn't keep you neutral. It means the other side moves faster. Prediction number 2. Ransomware is not going away in 2026. It is adapting. ENISA continues to list ransomware and data extortion among the top threats in Europe, and notes how personalized and service-driven these operations have become. Different groups come and go, but the business model is stable. Microsoft's telemetry backs hit up another angle. Human-operated ransomware encounters have multiplied, even if better defenses mean fewer of those attempts and in full encryption event. Industry analysis from the last 2 years show that ransomware as a service crews have no problem pivoting when defenders close the door. They shift from pure encryption to just extortion, from phishing to vulnerability exploitations, or from hitting individual victims to hitting managed service providers and software vendors to get to many victims at once. For MSPs, this means that in 2026, the question isn't, do my clients still need backup or EDR? Of course they do. The question is, can we detect human-operated ransomware early enough? Can we isolate fast enough? And can we actually restore and communicate under pressure when data becomes leverage? The prediction here is not shocking, but it's important. Ransomware will still be the story, but the more focus on data theft, reputation damage, and supply chain leverage than just on locked screen. Prediction 3. Unpatched vulnerabilities and third-party access will be responsible for more of the pain than your users' mistakes. According to Verizon's 2025 DBIR, exploitation of vulnerabilities as an initial access vector rose about 34% and now accounts for around 20% of breaches. Credential abuse still sits in a similar band. And maybe the most uncomfortable data point for MSPs, third-party involvement in breaches has doubled to roughly 30%. ENISA and others are very explicit about this. Adversaries are increasingly targeting providers and digital supply chains, including MSPs, because that's how you multiply impact. Why break into 10 separate small companies if you can break into one of their providers and write that access into everybody's environment? For MSPs, that's a hard pill to swallow, because it means you are now one of the core attack surfaces for your clients. Regulators, insurers, and auditors are starting to ask not just what the client security posture, but what about the MSP's posture and the stack they run across all tenants? My prediction for 2026 is that supply chain and provider risk will stop being a slide at the end of the presentation and start being a real selection criterion. Strong MSPs will treat this as a differentiator and lean into it. Weak MSPs will be surprised when big customers start asking quite uncomfortable questions. Prediction 4. Identity will be the main battlefield, even more than it already is. Multiple data points point in the same direction. Verizon and Microsoft highlight that the majority of breaches involve compromised credentials, session tokens, or abuse of identity systems. At the same time, deepfake scams and AI-enhanced impersonation attackers are eroding traditional trust signals. Gartner's recent research shows that a clear majority of organizations have already seen deepfake-style attacks, and a significant minority have experienced attacks on their actually AI application stacks, not just on users. So in 2026, trusting a voice, a face, or a familiar-looking login page will be even more dangerous than today. For MSPs, that means your cloud identity practice across Microsoft 365, Azure, Google, Okta, and others move from backend plumbing to frontline security. Phishing-resistant MFA, conditional access, device trust, just-in-time admin, strong controls on service principles, those won't be advanced topics anymore. They will be what customers expect as a part of a serious MSP security package. If your core offers don't already treat identity as a product in itself, 2026 is the year to change that. The fifth prediction is that AI governance will move from nice to have to baseline expectation. IBM's 2025 Breach Cost Report calls out the organizations without governance around AI, especially shadow AI, where employees and teams spin up unapproved AI tools or agents, tend to have higher breach costs and slower response. Analysts like Gartner are also warning that in the coming years, a meaningful share of security and compliance incidents will involve AI systems. Not because the models are evil, but because access control, monitoring, and data handling were bolted on at the end, if at all. On the top of that, regulators are catching up. In Europe, NIS2 and DORA are raising expectations around how critical services manage cyber risk and report incidents. In the US and other regions, disclosure rules and sector-specific regulations are slowly tightening. None of these are AI laws in name, but they all care about where data goes and who can touch systems. For MSPs, the implication is twofold. First, you need to get your own AI use under control, which tools you use internally, what customer data they see, and how you log and review that. Second, AI governance is a natural extension of the advisory you already give clients on security and compliance. In 2026, being able to say, yes, we can help you safely adopt AI will be a major differentiator. Predictions are only useful if they change what you do on Monday morning. So let's turn these into 3 practical moves for 2026. Move 1. Harden the basics that the data says are failing. Use Verizon or ENISA findings as a mirror. How fast are you and your clients patching internet-facing system? Do you have visibility into exposed services? Do you know which third-party apps and providers have persistent access into each tenant? If exploitation of vulnerabilities is up by the third and third-party involvement has doubled, then every week you shave off patching time and every unnecessary integration you remove is a direct reduction of real measured risk. Move 2. Turn identity and AI-aware security into clear, sellable offerings. Bundle identity hardening, MFA, conditional access, SaaS configuration baselines, consent governance, and basic AI risk controls into named packages, not one-off projects. When you combine what Microsoft, IBM, Verizon, and Gartner are all saying, you end up with a simple picture. Identity, AI abuse, and supply chain paths are where most of action will be. Few offering maps to the reality, you will be ahead of MSPs who will still think of terms of AV and firewall and backup alone. Move 3. Invest in your incident response muscle. The IBM numbers are clear. Faster detection and containment saves real money. Regulators and insurers are also moving toward shorter disclosure timelines and tougher expectations. As an MSP, your ability to describe exactly what happens in the first 15, 60, and 240 minutes of an incident is not just a technical detail, it's a sales story. In 2026, more and more customers will choose their MSP partly based on who can convincingly explain how they handle a breach, not just how they try to prevent it. So to wrap this up, 2026 isn't going to magically reset cybersecurity. Instead, the trends we already see in the data, AI on both sides, stubborn ransomware, rising vulnerability and supply chain exploitations, identity as the main battlefield, and AI governance pressure are all going to intensify. As an MSP, you're sitting right in the middle of that change. Your clients can either face it alone, or they can face it with a partner who sees what's coming and has a plan. If this episode helped you think more clearly about what 2026 will bring and what you should be preparing for right now, do me a favor. Hit like, follow the channel, and drop a comment with the one prediction that worries you the most, or the move you're planning inside your MSP because of it. That helps more MSPs find this content, and it tells us which topics we should go even deeper on. Thanks for watching.